Here's what happened that should absolutely terrify every American watching right now. A sitting attorney general just got confronted in Congress with photographic evidence of sex trafficking crimes. Crimes involving powerful men, including a former British royal, and potentially others in elite circles. And instead of promising justice, she shut down the conversation. She closed the case. She protected the powerful. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't speculation. This is documented testimony from a congressional hearing where a representative held up redacted photos of trafficking victims, cited witness statements to the FBI, and demanded answers about why no one, not a single person who patronized Jeffrey Epstein's operation, has been held accountable under this administration. And here's what makes this even more explosive. The Attorney General admitted on record that her office closed the investigation in July 2025, claiming there wasn't enough evidence to go after uncharged third parties, but the evidence was staring her in the face. Literal photographs, FBI witness statements, documented connections, and wait until you hear what that witness told the FBI. It involves a threat so serious, he almost stopped a car to intervene.
I have a UC.
Ms. Crockett from Texas is recognized for UC.
Thank you so much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people approve of Trump's handling of immigration and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection,
that is a
admitted.
net drop.
Now I recognize the gentleman
20.
from California, Mr. Lieu.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I
question.
answer your question about protecting
You answered
Prince
the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got your
released.
answer. You said there's no
President
evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
that
please
they
stop the
sign
clock. Stop the clock.
the legislation. This is
I'd like to
ridiculous.
reclaim my time.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was gonna stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not
can
ask a
respond.
question,
He
Mr.
Head.
doesn't
You're
want
allowed
to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his
She
state.
can't just
Madam Attorney
ad-lib
General.
stuff. I did not ask a question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think our next witness will be.
Here's what happened that should absolutely terrify every American watching right now. A sitting attorney general just got confronted in Congress with photographic evidence of sex trafficking crimes. Crimes involving powerful men, including a former British royal, and potentially others in elite circles. And instead of promising justice, she shut down the conversation. She closed the case. She protected the powerful. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't speculation. This is documented testimony from a congressional hearing where a representative held up redacted photos of trafficking victims, cited witness statements to the FBI, and demanded answers about why no one, not a single person who patronized Jeffrey Epstein's operation, has been held accountable under this administration. And here's what makes this even more explosive. The Attorney General admitted on record that her office closed the investigation in July 2025, claiming there wasn't enough evidence to go after uncharged third parties, but the evidence was staring her in the face. Literal photographs, FBI witness statements, documented connections, and wait until you hear what that witness told the FBI. It involves a threat so serious, he almost stopped a car to intervene. Let me show you exactly what went down in that hearing room. Let that sink in. A member of Congress just accused the Attorney General of the United States of lying under oath, on camera, on the record. And her response was to deflect, to talk about transparency, and to protect the administration instead of the victims. You heard him say it. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes. That's not partisan grandstanding. That's a lawmaker who clearly believes he's looking at a cover-up in real time. And here's the kicker. This isn't about one party or another. This representative specifically called out failures across administrations. Merrick Garland, Bill Barr, Alex Acosta. He said they all dropped the ball, but Pam Bondi is in charge now, and instead of fixing it, she's continuing the pattern. So let's break down exactly what evidence exists, what the law actually requires, and why this case should have never been closed. Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation was one of the most well-documented criminal conspiracies in modern American history. Epstein died in federal custody in August 2019 under circumstances that remain disputed. His associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was convicted in December 2021 of sex trafficking minors. But here's what most people don't realize. Under federal law, specifically the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, it's not just the traffickers who are guilty. Anyone who patronizes or solicits a trafficking victim is also committing a federal crime. That means Epstein's clients, the men who attended his parties, who flew on his planes, who engaged with the victims he trafficked, they're all potentially liable under federal statute. According to court documents unsealed in recent years, there are over 1,000 identified victims in the Epstein case. Thousands of pages of evidence, flight logs, photographs, witness testimony. And yet, as the representative pointed out in that hearing, not a single client has been prosecuted. In July 2025, just 7 months ago, the Department of Justice under Attorney General Pam Bondi issued an internal memo effectively closing active investigations into Epstein's network. The memo, cited directly in the hearing, stated, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." Let's be clear about what that means. The DOJ is claiming they don't have enough evidence to even start an investigation into the men who used Epstein's operation, but during the hearing, the representative from California presented 2 pieces of evidence that directly contradict that claim. First, photographs of Prince Andrew with a known Epstein trafficking victim. The photos were redacted to protect the victim's identity, as required by congressional law. But the fact that the victim's face had to be redacted proves she was part of the trafficking operation. And Prince Andrew's presence in those photos, according to the representative, is itself evidence of a crime under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Second, a witness statement to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. This wasn't some anonymous tip. This was a formal report from a limousine driver who said he transported Donald Trump and overheard a conversation between Trump and Epstein that was so disturbing, the driver considered stopping the vehicle and physically intervening. The same witness claimed he later met a woman who said she had been assaulted by both Trump and Epstein, a woman who later died under circumstances police reportedly deemed inconsistent with suicide. The representative's argument is simple. If the DOJ had this evidence and didn't even interview the witness, then the July 2025 memo wasn't a conclusion based on lack of evidence. It was a decision to ignore the evidence that existed. Here's where it gets legally complicated and politically explosive. Prosecuting sex trafficking clients is notoriously difficult, even when evidence exists, because federal prosecutors need to prove not just that someone interacted with a victim, but that they knew or should have known the victim was being trafficked. That's a high bar. But the representative's point is that the bar isn't impossibly high when you have photographs, witness statements, and documented patterns of behavior. Investigations start with less evidence than this every single day in America. So why weren't these men investigated? There are 3 possible explanations, and none of them are good. Political protection. The men connected to Epstein include former presidents, British royalty, billionaires, and sitting members of elite institutions. Prosecuting them would be politically radioactive and could destabilize international relationships. Institutional failure. The DOJ, FBI, and federal prosecutors genuinely believe the evidence isn't strong enough, not because it doesn't exist, but because they've set an internal standard so high that it effectively protects the wealthy and connected. Active cover-up. Someone within the DOJ or the broader executive branch made a deliberate decision to close the case to protect specific individuals, and the July 2025 memo was the bureaucratic instrument to formalize that decision. The representative clearly believes it's option 3, and his accusation that the Attorney General lied under oath suggests he thinks she's personally complicit. Let's inventory what's actually in the public record, separate from what was said in the hearing. Flight logs from Epstein's private jets show dozens of high-profile passengers, including politicians, academics, and celebrities. Some trips included stops at Epstein's private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where much of the abuse allegedly occurred. Court depositions from Epstein's victims describe encounters with powerful men at parties and private gatherings. Some of these depositions name specific individuals. Photographic evidence exists showing Epstein with public figures at social events. Some of these photos also show known victims in the background or standing beside the individuals in question. Unsealed documents from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial include references to uncharged co-conspirators and powerful individuals who have not been publicly named. FBI tip-line records reportedly contain hundreds of witness statements, including from individuals who worked for Epstein, drove for him, or had direct contact with his operation. The representatives claim that the DOJ has not interviewed key witnesses, aligns with investigative reporting from outlets like the Miami Herald and ProPublica, which have documented gaps in the federal response to Epstein's network. Here are 3 concrete ways this impacts ordinary Americans. It proves there are 2 justice systems in America. If you or someone you know were accused of patronizing a sex trafficking operation with photographic evidence and witness testimony, do you think the case would be closed without charges? Of course not. You'd be arrested, indicted, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But if you're wealthy, connected, or politically protected, the rules apparently don't apply. That's not justice. That's a protection racket for the elite. It undermines trust in federal law enforcement. The FBI and DOJ are supposed to be the institutions Americans can trust to go after the worst criminals, regardless of power or wealth. When the Attorney General closes a case involving over 1,000 victims and doesn't charge a single client, it sends a message. These institutions are compromised. That erodes public confidence not just in this administration, but in the rule of law itself. It sets a precedent for future cover-ups. If powerful men can avoid accountability in the Epstein case, what else can they get away with? Financial crimes, corruption, election interference. When there's no consequence for the most well-documented trafficking operation in modern history, it signals to other bad actors that the system is broken, and they can exploit it. So here's where we are. A congressional hearing just exposed what many Americans have suspected for years. The Epstein case isn't closed because there's no evidence. It's closed because someone decided the evidence doesn't matter. Over 1,000 victims, photographs, witness statements, flight logs, court documents, and 0 prosecutions of the men who used that operation. The representative from California said it best. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized this operation. But they won't, unless we demand it. If you're as angry about this as I am, here's what you do. Share this video. Send it to everyone you know. Make sure this testimony doesn't disappear into the news cycle. The only way this changes is if enough people refuse to let it go. And if you want to stay updated on stories like this, stories the mainstream media won't touch or will bury in a 30-second segment, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm not here to make you feel comfortable. I'm here to make sure you know the truth. Because the truth is this: justice in America isn't blind. It's bought. And until we change that, the powerful will keep getting away with the unthinkable. And here's what makes this even more explosive. The Attorney General admitted on record that her office closed the investigation in July 2025, claiming there wasn't enough evidence to go after uncharged third parties. But the evidence was staring her in the face. Literal photographs, FBI witness statements, documented connections. And wait until you hear what that witness told the FBI. It involves a threat so serious, he almost stopped a car to intervene.